Okay, I guess before we start with the interview,
Mm-hmm.
are there any sorry,
Mm-hmm.
are there any topics that you want to stay away from, or anything that you really want to talk about, so that we can kind of like get that out of the way before we start?
When it comes to Melty Blood, I know there's a lot, there's a decent amount of history when it comes to Melty Blood in particular. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's starting from 2007 because that's when I actually started out.
Right.
You know, and yeah, I know when it comes to topics, it's like I consider like I'll just say like the certain timelines, the West Coast age, the
Okay.
preparation for Evo age, and then Evo itself. And then
Okay.
after Evo when the newest version MBAACC comes out, and then afterward where everybody like everybody start to unlock the online while I was trying to do trying to do online locals or
Right.
offline locals, and then like it kind of goes into Evo
Okay.
preparation as well. So
So you
that's
have a pretty good idea of like the timeline you want to talk about?
generally, yeah. So
Cool.
okay, one thing I want
All
just
right.
want like one thing I
Yep.
just want to want to see about what is like some of your like stuff that you looked into before. So I'm curious
Um,
as well.
Okay, so I talked to a couple of people. I talked to BD
Mm-hmm.
Tetra
Mm-hmm.
about the Japanese scene and kind of like from a casual perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I talked to Shinobi on the
Mm-hmm.
East Coast about the tournaments he runs and just kind of what it's like trying to run events for a game like Melty, which is like maybe a smaller scene than like Street Fighter and other stuff, but it still has a huge community.
Yeah, Shinobi is
Um,
the guy for the for the East Coast for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
that
He,
was a quite a good interview. We got into a lot. And I talked to Vermilion about
or Scrot,
just
Scrot
yeah,
Vermillion. Yeah.
just being the best, you know.
That'd be
And what
him.
tournaments were like when he first came into the scene,
Mhm.
um like from Latin America and into North America.
Mhm.
But
Cool. Cool.
we haven't really touched much on like Evo itself, which
Mm.
is what I was hoping to talk to you about mostly.
Sure.
Like we
Yeah.
talked about Battle Opera, we talked about you know a bunch of the tournaments that Shinobi's running, but we never really got into Evo. So I think
Mm.
that'd be a good like focal point for this interview.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
The
yeah,
way I see it, like when it comes to when it comes to West Coast, I don't know if we're like recording right now. I'm just talking anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. Sort
Go
of when
ahead.
it comes to West Coast, it sort of ties together with Evo as well, at least in my mind. So
Yeah,
because yeah, Vegas is basically like SoCal's backyard or just West Coast
right.
backyard. So it'll tie together, I think.
Okay, perfect.
Hmm.
Um, all right. I mean, if are you ready to go?
Sure, anytime.
Cool. Okay, I am gonna start recording now.
Cool.
Okay, so to start off, why don't you introduce yourself and what it is you do?
Hello, everyone. This is Numaki. If you care about my real name, real name's Eric. I have been around in the Melty scene since 2007, I believe, according to the internet. And I've been playing the game competitively ever since the PlayStation release of Melty Blood Actress again.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a while back. And since 2007, I've played like several local tournaments around that time, even when it first got really even when it had the tournament at Evo in at the I think it's like 2008 or is it 2009 at the when Evo was at the Green Hotel or something. It's like somewhere off the strip. Yeah. And
Cool. So you've been
then
in the scene for a while.
oh yeah, I've been in the scene for quite a while. So
Awesome.
and then I also managed to get top 8 at Evo in 2010 when it was an
Wow.
official game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
And
let's go.
even after that I traveled a little bit to the East Coast to like play a couple of Shinobi's tournaments actually.
Sweet.
Back in the day. And after that, I started to run several of my own tournaments at the locals in SoCal. And that's sort of a combination of those things. We sort of got into AnimEVO at the time in 2014, and just went on from there basically.
Cool.
So that's sort of the
Um,
timeline.
yeah. Awesome. Good. We have an outline for everything we can talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess since we're talking about tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
or okay, I guess the first thing I want to ask is how did you find Melty Blood in the first place?
Melty Blood. Well, as with all internet games, internet things back in the day, we basically found that game online. If you go search for just like Dojin games, Melty
Right.
Blood was part of the list. And this was long before, we knew anything about French bread wanting to make a legit fighter as best as possible with Type Moon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like way beyond. We just like want to play our old game. So I actually started playing the game around Melty Blood Final Tune. I just played it casually with like just some of my local friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when I actually start to go into Melty Blood as a competitive player was a series of events that was hosted by Arlieth. Would you happen to know who that guy is by chance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Arlieth. Aside from being a really good Makoto player in Third Strike, and as of recently a really good Vega player in Street Fighter 5, he actually hosted a series of tournaments that is called West Toast. Like
Toast.
West Toast, yeah, exactly, right. And I believe this is also around the same time where East Coast started to host their own things called Battle by the Gazebo. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of that. No.
Yeah, if you happen to talk about Melty Blood, you have to talk about Battle by the Gazebo, which is
Okay.
kind of the East Coast version of like people going together, literally connecting their laptops to the back of a Snapple machine and playing Melty Blood in the park by a gazebo. So,
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds amazing.
yeah, but yeah, so yeah, a little bit more stuff you can get from there. But anyways, back to West Coast. According to the website, it's still actually up, Melty Blood. I can give you a link to that if you want to.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
So here's just like like the current page that I'm looking at in Melty Blood. It was around Melty Blood. It was around West Toast 4, which according to this date took place in 6 to 2007, where I believe I entered the first tournament. The first
Okay.
tournament, just kind of like, oh, there's crazy people hosting this Melty Blood tournament back
Mm-hmm.
like when it was on the PS2 at the time.
Right.
So yeah, and obviously I didn't do too well. It was my first experience of Melty Blood.
For sure.
Yeah.
Did you play any fighting games competitively before Melty Blood?
Not really competitively. I did play a decent amount of fighting games at my local college or my
Okay.
local community college at the time. Like a couple of friends, which I became good friends through the anime club. That because that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also were like I think some of them liked playing KOF.
Right.
We got together at the arcade machine, or
Cool.
at the at the I'm trying to think of at the college campus
Mm-hmm.
arcade corner, I guess you could say, where we played.
An arcade
Well,
at your college campus?
I
That's
mean,
dope.
it was a little college. It was a little
Yeah.
college community college, and it had like I don't know, like 8 arcade boards inside the break room.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They had
sick.
like a DDR machine there. They had MBC2, which was like the go-to point where
Oh,
you're,
for sure.
yeah,
That's dope.
yeah. there-
Okay.
So yeah.
Um,
Anyways, so yeah, I played a decent amount of fighters before then. So
cool. So yeah, you had quite a bit of experience, or like some experience at least, before you started to take it seriously. Speaking of which,
hmm
like, how did you decide? I'm gonna start going to tournaments and like taking it seriously and eventually making it to top 8 at Evo 2010.
oh man, yeah. So funny thing about that. So it was West Coast 4. I just kind of like came in randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Like came in randomly to be like, hey man, I'm just gonna play this game. And it was around West Coast 5 in particular, and I'll actually post the link on here, where I
Okay.
surprisingly got top 4 in that tournament with my with Isui,
Jeez.
my character. or
Okay.
like third. Was it third or second place? I think I still like to fondly look at like
Yeah.
a video back in the day, which I'm gonna post.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Please do.
yeah. I'm trying to do this live, so there's a lot of history I'm going back. So it's always
No worries.
nice to look back in the day. Although, yeah, there's a lot of archives in YouTube, which
Yeah.
thankfully YouTube is a nice place for archives.
So I'm just looking at Melty Bread and like, is it still updated? Like, it's the most recent tournament or the most recent post was like 2016. Has it kind of just moved to the Discord?
Yeah, it's mostly been going to the Discord. West Toast back in the day was a really good hub at the time to
Mm-hmm.
go into, to just kind of like look for your local events. You know,
Right.
you could probably poke around that website to see like even stuff for Battle by Gazebo as well as that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And West Toast is also another one of those things that were propped up, which also has its own history. Like before
Mm-hmm.
it was before West Toast was took place in a old PC slash arcade place called Interface.
Okay.
Because remember when PC when PC what's that called? PC
Internet
cafes were a
cafes.
thing
Yeah,
at the time. Yeah. So we
for
hosted
sure.
things right over there. We even got some rudimentary recording setup, which, that's how we're able to find some of the old stuff.
That's dope.
Yeah. And then later on it moved to an arcade called Family Fun Arcade. Family Fun Arcade, which unfortunately went away recently. So,
Rest in peace.
yeah, rest in peace. All the arcades are gone, man. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's got, it's just don't need them anymore.
It's sad. It's
Um,
sad. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but like going back to myself, it was around West Coast 5 where I actually happened to get like third place, or is it third or second place? Probably second place.
okay.
And when you just go in as a new person with this little scene, as a
Yeah.
random Isui player who just kind of mash buttons, played, and I was just like, yeah, dude, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
I play this character and I tech punish people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Congrats.
and yeah, just it was a lot of fun. And even through this website, I kind of gained some notoriety, like even
Hmm.
from the East Coast, because everyone was looking at the forums at the time. You know,
Hmm.
like like actually it's weird because one of the people that was kind of my inspiration at the time at this game was another player in the East Coast called Master Chibi,
Okay.
who was also Hisui player at the time. And then when he saw me like winning and doing badly, he was pissed that I was winning all the time because I
Oh,
played badly.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, so it just kind of
Man,
became a running joke about, playing bad and somehow getting away with it. I wonder if my old post is still on there, because in my profile in this thing it's like playing badly and somehow getting away with it. So that was kind of my
totally.
inspiration of, trying to get better at the game.
Yeah, it's just getting called out. It's like it's so much better.
It
But then
was
so from there you started taking it more seriously and traveling to events.
I mostly stayed around like West Coast for the time being. Also around the time they hosted, like a couple of the players hosted some hangouts at other people's houses, and I played games right over there.
Right.
Just getting better. I think one of the West Coast actually took place. No, it's not West Coast. It was called Carnage something, like Carnage something, where they just
Okay.
hosted a little event over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what's interesting about West Coast in particular. It was the Melty event at the West Coast at the time. So you had people from Northern California driving down to West Coast. You had people from Las Vegas driving down to West Coast. You had people from freaking Arizona driving to the LA area for West Coast.
Wow.
So we had a small group of people going to this one location to
That's
to
awesome.
play.
Just to
And
play this game.
well, let's see, it was that game and also Guilty Gear. So those
Right.
two kind of coincided together when it came to just getting together, like as a central hub for people to play. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start running your own events?
Ah,
Um,
that would actually be after Evo, so that's
After
gonna
Evo.
be a little bit later.
Okay.
So
So let's talk about Evo. Like what did that mean for the scene in 2010 to
mm.
be like a featured event and not just like a side bracket?
Actually, I would even say, like before Evo 2010, there
Hmm.
was the one time when like Melty Blood was a side game at Evo, and I think it's 2018 or 2008 or 2009,
Okay.
actually, where it was like people from all over the country like came together at Evo, to play, like just to play Melty Blood as
Wow.
well. Back when Melty Blood Actress Again was when Melty Blood Actress Again was on PC. So everyone came down, played on
Right.
PC. I beat Yuna, and
Nice.
I think I ended up getting like top 16 in that tournament or something.
You beat Yuna? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
like
Let's go.
yeah, I just still remember like I think like the reason I bring up Giuna is like I remember like just Giuna there, and
Hmm.
I thought nothing of it. I beat him. I think I beat him in the first three. That's just in
Hmm.
my memory, so it might be wrong. But yeah, I beat this Shiki, and yeah, we just busted like bump fist, and there we go, good times. And
Cool.
yeah, I mean, and then I managed to finally meet Master Chibi.
Hmm.
We had like a small money match that was kind of like whatever. I ended up
Yeah.
beating him. He was still
Let's
angry
go.
at me.
Yeah. Oh, that was he's just flaming you in the forums, and
Yeah,
then he loses to
exactly.
you at land. That's so good.
Yeah, well, like I'm for the record, I think we're still, like I think we're just like good mutuals, like
Sure.
generally online. So, but
Yeah.
it's still funny to think about back in the day.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so Evo, either 2008 or 2009, you have all these players coming
mhm,
in
mhm,
specifically for Melty. I'm sure they competed in other events, but
mhm.
for Melty Blood.
Yeah.
And then how did, you know, Evo 2010, the how did they pick it up and be like, okay, Melty's going to be more of a big deal this year?
More of a big deal. Okay. Well, like I had kind of have to like go back into the timeline, back into the timeline when
Okay.
after everyone went into 2018 or
Hmm.
2008 to play
Hmm.
Melty Blood. That was like the final hurrah. Like yay, that
Right.
that was the last thing, and we kind of just was whatever. And then they announced Melty Blood Actress Again, which was the thing before
Okay.
current code, and that kind
Right.
of like set a fire to like the interest of that game. And even then, I was kind of like, do I really want to play more?
Hmm.
Play more. And I know people dabbled with it. I think it was first out in the arcade, and then I don't know if they made a PC release. I know they ended up with a PlayStation 2 release that was basically the final version that ended up in 2010 or the
Okay.
2010 Evo. And when the real kicker was when Evo in particular hosted a let's see, how do I say this, like a voting thing to be like
Right.
which game do you want to be voted into Evo.
Hmm.
And I think there was like Third Strike and Marvel 2, because Marvel 2 and other games. I think Smash Brothers was in their side too,
Hmm.
and a stupid little game called Melty Blood that nobody cares about.
Ended up winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Uh-huh. Like, how much do you know about that particular part of the story? Because that side is jokes.
Virtually nothing. I don't know. I don't know very much.
Okay. So if you
So
talk
if you,
to,
yeah.
so if you talk to anybody else about the story, in my
Mhm.
perspective, it's kind of like, yeah, nobody cares about this game.
Yeah.
The way I see it, you see all these people aping to be like, oh, do I do Third Strike? Do I do MVC2? Do I do,
Hmm.
Marvel? Do I do? I think Tech was in there, but I think those are like the key games. And then the story goes that all of the internet, like probably 4chan, probably like weird things at the time, were like, Melty Blood, Melty Blood, Melty Blood.
Hmm.
And then when they ended up winning, everyone was calling bullshit.
Right.
It was like, what the hell? But then,
Yeah.
over time, it was accepted that okay, Melty Blood is gonna be a game, like a game at Evo. which
It's
was
awesome.
yeah, which was pretty awesome, and it kind of lit the competitive fire, at least in the West Coast, like inside their own home, inside their
Hmm.
own homes, you know. Um, like my local arcade, Arcade Infinity, rest in peace, by the way,
Rest in
actually
peace.
had a cabinet there, which I played a lot
Yep.
by myself because nobody played that game. Everyone played like Third Strike, but I was like the guy to only play Melty Blood by himself, and maybe the occasional person I met back in the day.
Wow.
And
That's
then
dedication.
that is, like I love this game quite a bit. And then I believe there was a couple of times where one of our friends, which I will describe as a house of poverty,
Okay.
probably a festival of sorts. It's a little in joke that I don't want to give away completely, but yeah,
Okay.
people just played all bunch of Dojin fighters. I think like Arcana Hearts and some weird trashy KOFs or something. And then
Hmm.
people were also trying to train up for Melty Blood, including myself at the time.
Hmm.
And yeah, so and then Evo happened. I was super nervous as well.
Right.
And oh man, there are 4 pools. I think I was in the one of the easier pools, but among with I believe Brandino, who was in that same pool as me. I actually got managed to make it to the losers top 8 in my pool, which is
Wow.
like wow.
Let's go.
That's pretty crazy. And nobody believed in my pool. I was just, the free pool or whatever.
Right.
And well, it's not warranted because there were other pools that had like LK, he's
Yeah.
he's a player that some people might know,
Yeah.
who had and there are like some Japanese players like Garu and I can't remember. I have to look at the Wikipedia to remember that I'm a wiki like which is also hilariously humbling because I can just be like, "Yo, Wikipedia, look
Yeah.
up my name, and there's my one, like one post for Evo."
That's funny.
Yeah, and there's my name in Melty Blood 2010. So
Sweet.
I have to look at it again. Okay, so yeah, we got Garu. Okay, his friend wasn't on there. We had Kusanagi, who's really good Alco, and then we had other people that I knew back in the day.
Hmm.
Shay, Yat from NorCal, LK from East Coast. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kusanagi from Mexico, and yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to make it out of my pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
hmm
and was it on the like main stage, like on Championship Sunday?
It was on Championship Sunday. At the time, they were still trying to get all the games on Sunday.
Okay.
And on Sunday, I believe it took place at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, there was like not too many people inside. There was not too many people inside there.
Yeah.
I Sorry, the crowd of people, even though it only took up like probably a fifth of the chairs inside that room, it was still
Hmm.
like amongst the circle of Melty peers, like for the most
Right.
part. And I just remember, man, when I was sitting down waiting for my turn to go up, oh man, I was an absolute nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And just sitting in my chair, like clumped up with, the other top 8 players on there.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my god, I'm like doing I'm like super weirdly terrified, goosebumps in my arms. And then when I walked him to the stage, when it was my turn, I was just like super stiff and super worried. I think I
Yeah.
tried to stretch to get the blood rushing into my brain.
That's
And I
hilarious.
sat down. I fought Yat, and I didn't do like that good upstage.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
man.
it's such a new environment. That's totally fair.
So yeah, it's cool because people actually recorded my particular match online. But you can also find like
Nope.
Evo 2010 matches too. So let me see if I can find my video, and you can see the other videos as well. So
Oh yeah, there's a full
Lumaki,
playlist of
Evo,
all of them.
yeah, I think so. You might have seen my beautiful. my beautiful gameplay in 2010. It is possible, but oh
And
man, like I didn't do that good. I was like, oh dude, I was just like afterward, just like after top eight, I was just kind of sitting there, just kind of dejected.
yeah,
That my performance was terrible. But then, after finals came up, I stood up there in front of the stage with all the top eight players.
yeah,
They handed me the medals, and we raised our hands, and yeah, I don't know.
that's so cool.
I would literally say that was one of the more life-defining moments in my life. no,
Fair.
no joke, and I still hold the medal to this day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so I guess I do have a couple questions, or just one question about like what was that like a big thing for the community? Like being at Evo, was that something that kind of, more players started coming in? Or was it just like another tournament for you guys?
Melty at Evo in 2010 was definitely one of those milestone moments, I would say.
Okay.
It wasn't just me working my butt off to friggin' try as hard as I can because I was really trying to win, and I think it
Hmm.
shows. Despite my sloppy gameplay, I really wanted to win.
Right.
There's this one video of me versus like a Nas who used Ryogi, and I never fought this character before.
Yep.
And she do the standard Ryogi tricks like unblockables, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no,
Oh no.
yeah. And this was the match to get to the top eight.
Yeah.
And I
And
just remember
you
when
won.
huh?
You
Yeah,
won.
and I won, yeah. And he was like
Wow.
pissed. And like that video's actually up on YouTube as well. Because
Hell yeah.
my friends were behind recording at the time, which is probably not fair for Nas. I'm sorry, but yeah, like genuine reactions of people just wanting to win.
Mhm.
That was my moment at the
Mhm.
at the time and my experience for Melty Blood 2010. So
Sweet.
yeah.
So what happened after Evo? Like what was your story? What was
hmm
a more
Yeah.
general story, whichever
Okay.
you want to talk about?
My general story after Evo in particular, yeah, I am. It was, let's see, it was obviously the last, the quote unquote last release of Melty Blood,
Mhm.
like a Melty Blood. And it's like, that's it. That was her last hurrah.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of like just let it be. But
Yep.
then French Bread themselves decided to release another another version of Melty Blood,
Yep.
Melty Blood Actors Again Current Code,
Okay.
which I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because kind of how it goes is yeah, the French Bread basically had to recreate the game on updated hardware. So they took
Okay.
the opportunity to update the game. Release new characters. I think Archetype Earth and Archetype Earth, which is referred to as Hime
Okay.
or Queen or Princess, sorry, and
Mhm.
then the the CL with the bunker spike or the doom
Mhm.
spike, I guess you could say, or well, anyways, yeah. Just they released the new characters, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool,
Yep.
you know. And yeah, it was just kind of like that's cool. And then, ooh, have you heard about when like how they released Melty Blood to the general public?
No, I haven't.
Oh, this is beautiful. So, have you ever heard of an anime like by Type Mood called Carnival Phantasm?
No.
Okay,
Tell me about that.
Carnival Phantasm is a like is kind of like a joke anime that they took they took characters from Fate, like a Fate Stay Night or the Fate series, and they
Mhm.
added the characters from the Melty Blood / Tsukihime series.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it was just like a whole bunch of gags, and in addition, they released they happened to add Melty Blood on the third release disc as an extra
Oh,
package.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard this. Tell me about this. This is such a great story.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's like not like it's just kind of weird because yeah, just imagine you're super excited about a game, like super excited about a game, but the only way you can get a PC version of this game is to buy the
Yeah.
third special edition of
Yeah.
third special edition of an anime series that is just kind of like weird. If you're in America, you have to like pay $500, which I did, to
Yeah.
buy this only this issue that came with the box and a couple of sketches. And it's a shame we don't have a
Mhm.
camera because I would totally just show it off, show
Yeah.
it off to you right now. But yeah, like it just uh it was like when it comes to like releases of video games, this has got to be one of the most absurd that I've ever heard.
Yeah. That is unreal. And but like because you had this like disc, right? This was how you were able to the community was kind of able to get like rollback netcode for online net play
Yeah,
and
I
stuff,
mean,
right?
it was definitely the first step. Right off the bat, the disc itself came with Melty Blood version 1.07, which is the current version that everyone plays right now.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. And I managed well before now this is great. So if you want to quote unquote if you wanted to put this game on your disk, you just had to go into the files, install it, click
Hmm.
on the link inside the disk to just download a file, like download a file from the link that they provided you and put it
Hmm.
onto the same folder where you installed Melty Blood.
Oh,
That's all
okay.
you had to do to get the game running. So you can imagine that
Okay.
game got hacked like super quickly,
Yeah.
or that file got hacked super quickly. And
Awesome.
because if it didn't, it just gave you an error of it's trying to find that particular file. So that's you can imagine that people who went into that game or went into the game just kind of like start to like crack it little by little. And then there
Hmm.
was already a history of other games trying to add rollback. I don't know
Right.
if like Fightcade was like a thing at the time, like in its early stages.
Hmm.
Rollback started to be really good. Like
Yeah.
start like an actual thing, and I think people like Mauve and just other users worked really hard to get it into there. And so just on internet users start to look into Melty Blood, like hacking Melty Blood, which it's kind of a gray area, obviously, but I mean that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So so yeah, everyone like people just got this rollback client, and then at least for the online community, they never looked back. They just start to go on Discord and play and play the
Yeah.
game. So, which as good and awesome as it was that's a thing that they did. I at the time and still kind of to this day, I'm still kind of like I still don't like that because I wanted to be the guy to try to host the locals and events. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about that for a bit.
Mhm.
You are obviously a tournament organizer.
Mhm.
You run events.
Yeah. Sure.
You want to just give like a brief overview of like what that's like running events specifically for Melty Blood?
Oh yeah. Well, for it was around the time when Melty Blood started to be a little bit more, available because people were able to get their hands on it.
Hmm.
Like a side note, I actually bought the arcade board that Melty Blood Actress and Current Code came from.
Wow.
The ring
Okay.
wide, I think it was the ring wide or ring edge, just one of those. So
Hmm.
and yeah, like at the time, still obviously still thinking about my win in Melty Blood 2010, and after doing some traveling, like traveling to the East Coast to just play Melty Blood right over there, and obviously, and which we'll come to later, I found some good friends from the West Coast all the way at the East Coast, which are still
Oh,
good friends to this day.
awesome.
So yeah, just like man, I want to be the guy that try to archive all these Melty Blood tournaments as well,
Right.
or just Melty Blood as a whole. And in addition, not Japan Arcade, Family Fun Arcade, actually got their hands on a Melty Blood cabinet, like a Melty Blood
Oh.
cabinet as well. And I was talking to some of the workers at the time, and I was able to, eventually connect my my recording software into the back of the arcade machine and start recording, recording
That is
straight from the
insane.
cabinet. So
Oh my gosh, that's so
yeah, and because I kind of put this effort into capturing
I'm so good
data,
at this
with whatever capture software I could have gotten at the time,
game. Right.
like it sort of
What?
put my mind, it sort of put my mindset to be like, man, Melty Blood has to be this local, this game that is played in locals and whatnot, and it kind of, shaped the majority of my thoughts when it comes to like Melty Blood as a competitive thing,
Right.
outside of the online circle doing the online thing, so which is interesting, an
Hmm.
interesting mindset in my opinion. So
So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the person who runs the streams and the brackets for Evo, right? For Melty Blood?
for Melty Blood, kind of. Are you talking about AnimEVO by chance, or
Oh, it might be Anime Evo.
yeah,
Yeah.
AnimEVO, AnimEVO, which is also a little bit later, like a little
Hmm.
bit later, was just a series of events. I mostly concentrated on just being the streamer for
Okay.
AnimEVO at the time because I I also just hosted some some side locals
Yeah.
because, well, going a little further back, it was I believe it was around when Persona was released for the first time, and that was the
Okay.
hype game to try to play into it.
Yeah.
Um, Super Arcade was hosting some tournaments for that game in addition, as well, and it's a series of tournaments that's called Rebel Up, and they were trying to, it's kind of like a pun off Level Up because at the
Hmm.
time, Alex Valle was hosting their Level Up series of games, like a
Hmm.
Level Up series of games in Super Arcade at the time.
Hmm.
And then anime players are like, yo, instead of Level Up, we should call it Rebel Up, as a pun for Blaz Blue. As for Blaz Blue, it says Rebel One Action or something.
Yeah.
So it's it's just a series of in jokes, which is the greatest way to put their names.
For sure.
And so when everyone was playing Blaz Blue, Persona, you know, I I eventually went in, with help from other people, to just set up like a little arcade event corner to run Melty Blood, um, and also Vampire Saver, which my friend actually had the arcade boards for. So we just kind of we're this little tag team to in the corner, in the povered corner, I should say, to
Hmm.
run these little just this little tournament, this little tournament, just for funsies as a side thing.
Hmm.
I was kind of surprised when because Rebel Up at the time was the SoCal tournament to go to, and I was hosting
Hmm.
my little tournaments up there. There's one particular case where NorCal actually drove down to to go, yeah, NorCal drove down to SoCal to be like, hey, how's it going? and
Oh wow.
then yeah, I hosted a Melty Blood tournament there as well with no NorCal and SoCal as well.
Sick.
And it kind of also became like a mini hub for, because occasionally I think I remember maybe Arizona joining in a little bit as well. I think it was like a
Hmm.
bi-weekly at the time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just kind of got my experience in just trying to run Melty Blood as a side tournament from there. Yeah,
Cool.
and in addition, I also try to host, record the matches for Plus R when Alex Valle was hosting level ups stuff at the Super Arcade as well, and I
Hmm.
thought I want to record Plus R vods because that's when it was released, and I want to be the guy to record it.
Hmm.
So
And so it was kind of like documenting the history of the scene and making sure that nothing gets lost to time.
kind of, I mean, another reason why I wanted to start kind of documenting these tournaments was because the people before and Melty Blood took the effort to document the past tournaments,
Hmm.
back in 2008, 2009, and I would constantly look back in YouTube just to watch my footage again.
Right.
And I sort of like ran with the idea. I was like, man, I want to like try documenting these things,
Yeah.
and like and it may not be for all people, but I improved because I was able to watch gameplay that other people recorded. So I want to try to do that as well.
Yeah. That's
So
so good.
yeah, and
Um,
I mean, I guess over time it just gave me extra, it gave me extra reputation at the time, which even just led me to like one of my friends from NorCal driving down to SoCal. I think he wanted to like go to the Anime Expo at the time, just to be like, oh yeah, and
yeah.
also run Evo probably. I forget the exact details, but he just asked me, man, 2013 sucked when it came to Evo. Do you want to just run a side tournament, and take over the BYOC?
Yeah.
You know, the person, by the way, who asked me this was DJCream or Daryl, who is infamously known for creating the fight stick with A or mash A and DP. He's like infamously known for that particular stick for Persona.
That's hilarious.
But he just asked me like, "Hey man, do you want to stream? You want to stream these Melty events? Yeah,
Yeah.
like right at Evo 2014." And I'm like, "Sure,
Sure.
let's
Why
do
not?
it." And
Cool.
and we did. Internet sucked back in the day.
Yep.
And I had to like record through my phone. And I know you did some streaming. I'll ask you what bit rates do you usually stream at? I need to ask you.
Let me see
Yeah.
what my settings are. I mean, I don't stream that much. I've done a little bit,
Mhm.
but oh my gosh. Bitrate,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have it at 2500 kilobits.
2500 kilobits, so that's probably
Yeah.
decent for like a 720p stream or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was streaming and uploading at 800 kilobits
Jesus
at
Christ.
on a on a 360 like p size screen for the world to see, for
Oh my gosh.
1000 people to see on my stream.
That is outrageous.
Yeah, dude. I came up with a setup where I think I mainly used I mainly used XSplit to record, and then
Yeah.
XSplit would outlet to another monitor, and then
Right?
OBS would stream would downsample that monitor and stream that feed to the world. Like,
Jesus.
and so everyone was enjoying this this well at the time, Japan quality like VOD quality
Right.
stream for everybody.
And that's how everyone got their Melty Blood
That's
was
how everyone got their Melty Blood. Like what?
that's so funny.
Uh,
Wow.
and it was very just like tongue in cheek, and just we tried our best, and
Yeah.
even at the same time, I think Guilty Gear was literally sat right next to us, like a
Hmm.
running guild like plus R at the time because that was the game. I think even Brett from NorCal was also running like Gundam as he usually does. And me with what eventually became like parts of NorCal, parts of Arizona, and we got together. I helped out with like streaming like Aquapaza, Arcana
Right.
Heart, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All Star Battle, because
Yeah.
people wanted to do that at the time, and I still have those vods in my channel.
Hell yeah.
There's more games, but yeah, Melty Blood is also on there as well. So it was a very ambitious project, and just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of born because in 2013, Evil was like, I don't like anime games. We're not gonna show them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like the sentiment of like the whole world. To basically say, F you, Evo, we're gonna host anime games ourselves in your venue.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's kind of the impetus of how Anime Evo was born, and and we basically ran with it for like several years.
Just like as an FU to Evo for not putting on anime games.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
awesome.
I know, like we're just kind of we're just kind of jumping, but in my mind, like West Coast and Evo just kind of ties together in my head because I was still trying to host my tournament, like my tournaments, kind of in support for Anime Evo,
Hmm.
you know. and I don't know, 2015, I think that's when Go to Ichi showed up.
Yep.
I think one of my best hits for my video is Melty Blood 2017, where it has a picture of Goichi just like right there on Melty Blood with Hisui on the channel, like
Yeah.
Hisui on there. I bet you've obviously seen that, right?
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
just gonna post it on here because it's just as funny. It's just funny to me that it's Goichi on
Yeah.
here, and it's probably my best, my most my great the video that everyone probably knows me for, probably as the guy
Hmm.
who introduced Goichi to the world.
Yeah.
I'll take that credit. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. That's all you.
Uh,
Let's go.
oh man, fun like side tangent. I think it was another channel who talked about who was talking about, I think it was Goichi and Sonic Fox. And when
Hmm.
they were talking about Sonic, or Goichi in particular, right there it was just Goichi and like an interview right on my stream. And I'm like, okay. Which is like super humbling. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So, and
Such a. I mean, it's so important having people willing to like run the events and like show their favorite game to the world, and it's such a good thing
yeah.
that you're doing with these streams. And
hmm another motivating factor, which I was just reminded of right now, is
hmm
like trick the world into loving what you like.
yeah,
That's also like a joke that I always said in my head.
yeah,
And if you think about those particular words, if
hmm
you say like kind of trick the world, it's kind of like playfully saying you really love this game, you got to show
yeah,
it off and try to say and try to find ways to be like, oh, this game's not that bad,
yeah. And
or
just like if you're passionate about something, people will come and they will also like feed off that passion.
mm-hmm,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Then that was
Um,
kind of my that was kind of my drive, definitely at the time for sure. So
totally. Okay. So is there anything else or anything else you wanted to talk about?
I mean, that's mostly it when it comes to the competitive scene.
Okay.
In my mind, Melty Blood, Melty Blood in particular was, a game that sort of kind of, and at least on the SoCal and the West Coast, kind of
Hmm.
grew alongside Evo
Yeah.
as well, where it was kind of like the training grounds where people just got together, and Evo was kind of an excuse to be like, get everyone in the world together to play this
Hmm.
game. And even then, I'm sure this is for other for other groups as well.
Yeah.
For other groups as well, Evo was the central hub for everyone to get together. You go for
Totally.
sure, yeah. And that's basically my memory, my memory of the game, at least in a
Cool.
competitive sense. And apparently, I'm the guy who. It's still weird to say I am the West Coast or the SoCal guy for Melty Blood, which I'm like, okay, I just did my best tricking people to playing the game.
Yeah. And now there's this absolutely massive worldwide community. Um, yeah. No,
hmm
it's amazing.
hmm
So I guess there's the last thing I wanted to talk about is Type Lumina
Type
coming out.
Lumina. Sure.
And just like how was your reaction or how was the community's reaction when, the latest chapter of Tsukihime came out and
hmm
then a month later Type Lumina is announced? Like what was the reaction of people?
Oh, the reaction, people. Well, I'll tell you, like my reaction was like
Hmm.
kind of disbelief
Okay.
because when's Melty Blood HD has been a meme throughout the community since forever.
Hmm.
And when you just say, oh man, they're never gonna release it, they're never gonna do anything with it.
Hmm.
We just kind of like, whatever, dude. Okay. And then when it came out, when it actually got released, the Melty Blood came out. I'm like, ooh, nice. Okay. And I was pretty happy about it. You know,
Hmm.
I think it really started to hit me when Hisui came out on the trailer, and
Hmm.
it was very recent. I was just driving on the freeway going to work, and then I
Yeah.
saw Hisui got released. I was like on my phone in traffic, And when I saw the video of just her popping the screen, I was like literally screaming in my car. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, my baby's in the game.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Oh, I love that.
And thankfully, there was traffic at the time. So, if it was actually moving around, I'd be swerving on the freeway.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
it's so good.
so where do you see? What do you think? When Type Lumina comes out, is Melty Blood going back to Evo? Is it going to be a bunch of new players coming into the scene? Like what do you think is going to happen moving forward?
Well, in my opinion, I believe since one of the biggest hurdles at the time was just fighting games need rollback. If
Right.
games don't have rollback, then why do we even care? That's like
Totally.
That's why when Virtual Fighter 5 came out, and it didn't have rollback, everyone's like, screw this game.
Yeah.
And sure, the normals would, the regulars who still love the game will be like, okay, we're still gonna try to play it, but nah, dude. In my mind, if it doesn't have rollback, I don't even want to deal with it. I've
Yeah.
dealt with that for freaking like I dealt with that for freaking like I don't know. When did I start playing fighting games online? Like 2000
Yeah.
2007 2008. I dealt with that for freaking 13 14 years. I am done with playing delay based netcode. And like
Absolutely.
yeah, I just like we just need fighting games to be in rollback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with rollback, man. And
And
that's like I don't know, like I couldn't accept fighting games as a delay based game at the time. So that threshold is passed. We just have to hope that it's good.
yeah.
As for if it's gonna be Evo, I mean it's a Type Moon game, or it's a Type Moon game, so
Mm-hmm.
that has its history. That has its history. There's the long series of running jokes that came with the like with the
Totally.
game, playing in the parking lot and whatnot. And it has like a whole bunch of like backstories to that game, backstories with that game. So that's another footing that a lot of people are interested in.
Yep.
And yeah, a lot of people have like it seems that at least in Twitter or whatnot and YouTube, yeah, a lot of people have their eyes on it right now. You know, mm, strive. As much how good the game is, it has a limited system, and here comes this
Yeah.
Melty Blood game with like saying screw that, we're just gonna up our ante with our own game and
Mm-hmm.
be free with movement and keep reverse beating in, and then just kind of update the shield mechanic, which is pretty awesome.
Cool.
hmm
Okay. Well, I think we covered a lot, and that is a lot of good material. Thank you so much for doing the interview. Do you have any anything you want to say before we wrap up today?
Well, before you do that, I think one of the things you want to ask me is, why I love the game so much.
That's kind of exactly, yeah, that's what I'm
Mhm.
perfect. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why did I play for like Melty back in the day? I don't know. It was one of my first competitive fighting games that kind of got me from like player to top eighter to person who wants to be the VOD guy,
Hmm.
you know. And yeah, there's a history there. But when it comes to the game itself, I don't know. It has my maid inside there that I just ended up loving over time. But even in the game, there's something about the movement, the fact that there are reverse beats, the fact that like when you're mid screen, you're just jumping around in the air, like trying
Yeah.
to land that sweet hit in. I've While I was streaming that game, I've got like a lot of people who say the movement is a lot like Smash Brothers, and I'm like,
Right.
that kind of makes sense. You got your double jumps, dashes, a lot of free air movement. But when they're in the corner, it's just like full on oppression time,
Hmm.
and it's just really unforgiving.
Yeah.
And it's just because of the freedom. A lot of my friends talk about freedom of expression. You can sort of bring that in. You can sort of yeah, just a combination of those things. It's just I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah.
I love the chaotic nature of that game, and yeah, the history of the players and whatnot.
Cool.
So
Yeah, do you have any kind of closing remarks, shout outs, anything you want to give?
mm, I I don't know. I just spent like the last hour just reminiscing,
Yeah, and
reminiscing about the past or something.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I'm. I just love the game. You know, I spent many years promoting the game in my own way as much as possible.
Hmm.
It's a good game, man. Like whatever about the memes. Like say what you want about the memes, but the players love that game, you know, and I hope a lot more people can like enjoy it when a new version comes out. So,
Heck yeah.
hmm
Cool. Well, thank you so much for that
hmm
interview. That was yeah,
yeah,
that was excellent.
have fun editing this this hour video of me just
No worries.
ranting.
No, it's good. There's so much here.
hmm
You're so knowledgeable about the scene. I really appreciate you taking the time out on a Sunday to just like get me all of this information and
hmm
tell your story.
Yeah,
Um,
like there's a lot that, you know, in the more recent years after, like for Melty Blood, especially in the recent time where AnimEVO
yeah,
was definitely kind of another push to the scene as well, which I probably forgot to mention because like
yeah.
Melty Blood,
I ta-
AnimEVO, Goichi, and
yeah, we talked about I talked about a lot of that with Shinobi and
oh
some
yeah,
other people. So
hmm so
I
he
think we got
definitely
that covered. But yeah, thank you so much.
no problem.
Um,